The Ring of Vengeance.
In the forgotten, frozen streets of a Detroit slum, Jake survived. He was a ghost with empty eyes, and his only skill was breaking into cars and selling their parts for scrap. One bitter autumn night, under the sickly yellow glow of a flickering street lamp, he was working on an old Chevy when the owner, Mr. Crawford, appeared behind him. Jake braced to run, but faced not anger, but utter desperation. The man's eyes were red-rimmed, his hands shaking. "Please," his voice was crocked. "My son is in the hospital. If you give me back this car, I will give you the greatest gift of your life, I swear." The despair in his tone was so deep it momentarily pierced Jake's frozen heart. He was suspicious, but that desperate gaze disarmed him. Reluctantly, he handed over the keys. Mr. Crawford hurried in, but before driving off, he looked Jake dead in the eye and said, "You will receive your gift. I keep my promises." His two friends and partners, Luke and Mike, laughed until they choked when they heard the story. Their jeers echoed in their damp garage. An idiot, the greatest gift, a pile of lies. Yet a sliver of foolish hope remained in Jake. The next night, they broke into a suburban mansion. When the lights blazed on and sirens wailed, Luke and Mike vanished into the shadows like rats, leaving Jake alone. The cold steel of handcuffs bit into his wrists. Black Rock State Prison was a tomb of steel and concrete. Days stretched into eternities of violence, humiliation, and fear. A trio of brutal inmates, the Grazo brothers, made Jake their personal punching bag. His life became an endless waking nightmare. Then, one day, a small, heavy package arrived, no sender. Inside was a ring. It was made of a dark, tarnished metal, with a deep amber stone that seemed to hold a dull, sickly light within, like a monster's pupil. Desperate for any change, Jake slid it onto his finger. Days later, in the silent dead of his cell, he first felt it. A presence. A damp heaviness in the air that carried the smell of old rot and grave soil. Then the whispers began, a raspy, layered voice speaking directly into his mind.
Jake.
The djinn said it could grant wishes, dark wishes, and Jake, his heart full of hatred for the Grazo brothers, wished in silence. The next night, in the prison kitchen, a scene unfolded that would be etched into Black Rock's memory forever. The sounds of crushing bone, tearing flesh, and screams that choked into wet gurgles. In the morning, the mangled, unrecognizable remains of the Grazo brothers were found. Jake knew the ring had done it. News of the gruesome deaths spread. Some cunning inmates figured out the source of his sudden power. One night in the showers, they jumped him, beating him senseless and yanking the ring from his finger. But the ring brought no gifts to its new thieves. For them, the true horror began. In the dark, they saw shadows slithering from walls. In their sleep, a thing with hungry amber eyes fed on their spirits. Whispering voices drove them to the edge of madness. After 3 nights of relentless torment, the thieves, eyes wide with terror, shoved the ring back at Jake's feet and fled. Jake put it back on. A deathly calm settled over him. He knew it was a cursed blessing, but he used its power to intimidate and create a fragile safety. Soon after, his case was reviewed, and he was released under mysterious circumstances. Outside, Jake used money gained through threats to set himself up in a Chicago apartment. He indulged in excess, parties, women, cheap thrills. This paradise lasted 3 days. On the 4th night, drunk and staring into his bathroom mirror, his own reflection melted away. In its place stood a creature, tall, stooped, with ash-gray skin and eyes of solid, burning amber. Its voice roared in Jake's mind from the ring.
All gifts have a price, Jake. Blood. This is our pact. By wearing this ring, you have pledged pure blood to me. Now you must pay every other night a sacrifice, a life, or you will be the first morsel.
Resistance was futile. Excruciating pain racked his body as if his bones were breaking from within. The djinn was hungry, and Jake knew who the first sacrifice had to be. Luke, the friend who had left him in the dark. He lured Luke to an abandoned house on the city's outskirts. When the djinn manifested, the room turned icy. Its shadow fell on the walls, tall and twisted. Then it attacked. Jake watched, paralyzed, as Luke's body was torn apart by invisible razor-sharp forces. The sounds were unspeakable. Jake vomited in the corner, shaking. He was a thief, not a killer. This act damned his soul. Jake's struggles to break free were useless. The djinn grew stronger, more demanding. Then, one day in a dark park, Mr. Crawford appeared again. He looked older, gaunt, his eyes holding depths of madness and torment. "So it has you too," Crawford whispered, his voice exhausted. Their initial confrontation turned into a horrific conversation. Crawford revealed he too had been the ring's victim. Years ago, in exchange for his mother's life, he had accepted the djinn. And when his son fell ill, to pay the mounting blood debt, he was forced to pass the ring to someone in need, someone like Jake, hungry for change. The ring is a parasite. It feeds on broken promises and hatred. We are both its hostages. Setting their hostility aside, they united. Scouring old, obscure texts in forgotten libraries, they finally found a clue. The only way to vanquish such an entity was to bury the ring in earth sanctified by recent death, directly beneath a freshly buried body on the night of the interment. There, the djinn would be trapped and weakened long enough for a specific rite to potentially neutralize the ring forever. The Evil Ridge Cemetery was not breathing. The air was still and sickly sweet, smelling of rotting meat. Jake and Crawford, their fingers numb with cold, dragged themselves to the edge of the fresh grave. The dark pit was the earth's open mouth. Jake struggled to pull the ring off. The amber stone pulsed like a heartbeat. As he leaned toward the grave, everything froze. A whispering sound emerged from inside the coffin.
Jake, come back.
Cold soil snaked around his ankles. A tall shadow rose silently behind him. Its breath smelled of ancient graves. "Throw it, now!" Crawford screamed. Jake's hand was frozen. The ring seemed fused to his finger, as if it had grown roots. From the dark pit, a skeletal hand, covered in desiccated skin, crept out, reaching for his ankle. With a soundless scream, Jake grabbed a handful of dirt from the grave mount with his other hand and smeared it on the ring. The ring shrieked, a thin metallic sound like tearing iron. The skeletal hand dissolved into smoke. Jake flung the ring to the bottom of the grave. The coffin shuddered, its lid cracked. Something inside was breathing. Together, they frantically shoveled dirt onto the grave with their hands and a small trowel. From beneath the soil, pounding thuds came. The ground trembled. They threw the last of the dirt and ran. Epilogue. An ordinary life and a warning. Years passed. Jake runs a small, honest appliance repair shop. Crawford visits sometimes for coffee. They are bound by a silent understanding. They don't speak of it. They have normal lives now, simple and precious. But the memories are scars. One rainy night, Jake could no longer carry it alone. He found a small YouTube channel called We Are Not Alone, a place for plain, unvarnished stories from ordinary people. He recorded an audio message. No name, no face, just his voice, tired and raw. "If someone offers you a miracle for free, run," he began. "I once stole a car. The price was a ring. It had something living inside it, a hungry thing. You don't know it's hunger until it's feeding on you." I did terrible things for it, until I dug a grave in the rain with another lost soul. We buried it. It's still there, under the dirt, under a dead man's feet. But sometimes I wonder if every new grave just feeds it somewhere else. If our peace is just a lie it lets us believe. He uploaded it. Then he opened his window. The smell of wet earth filled the room. Across the street, under the flickering streetlight, a tall figure stood, perfectly still. The rain seemed to avoid it. Jake blinked. It was Khan. But on his desk, next to his laptop, a small circle of damp, fresh mud remained.
I hope you enjoyed the story. Please support us by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Sincerely, we are not alone.